Time to talk politics with the co-leader of the Green Party, Russel Norman, joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Russell.
Morning, Wemo.
Morning. Now, you've been down in Tauranga area for the clean-up. In fact, Papamoa Beach. What has been your experience of the Rena oil disaster firsthand?
Well, I mean, the clean-up was inspiring, actually, that day. I was up there on Saturday, and there was hundreds of people in white boiler suits up and down the beach as far as you could see, cleaning up the oil, which was, great, because it showed that people really cared. They wanted to look after their place, and they were doing their best to go out there and clean it up. So, I mean, that was after all the depressing experiences of being there, with all the dead birds and all the rest of it, that was quite a positive experience.
Yeah. So there's the oil on the beaches, but there's a lot of politics on the beaches as well. With every politician wanting to be seen to be at least part of the clean-up or talking about a solution or what went wrong and all that kind of stuff. And now questions over oil drilling, deep-sea oil drilling, kind of mixed messages. It's sort of hard to know where Phil Goff's at on it. I mean, he wants some kind of halt, but he's not calling it a moratorium. But he's effectively asking for the same thing that the Greens are, though, right?
I'm not sure. It's, originally I thought he was, but now it seems he's moved away from that. So it's very unclear to me what Labor are saying at the moment. I mean, from the Greens' point of view, I mean, an oil spill's an oil spill. Our concern about deep-sea drilling was the risk of oil spills. What we've seen with Rena is that a relatively small oil spill we were unprepared for, and an oil spill 1,000 times larger, which is what the Deepwater Horizon spill was, clearly would have a dramatic impact.
And now the revelations, it's amazing what comes out of the woodwork when these sort of events happen, but Patrick Gower over at 3 News has found out that uranium is going through Tauranga ports, and if anything was to happen with a uranium shipment, there are no plans in place to sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, the Greens have raised the issue of uranium coming through New Zealand before, but I think what's become clear now is the concerns of the port authorities about it, that there doesn't seem to be any plan. If a uranium container spills in a port, there doesn't seem to be any proper plans in place to clean it up. And of course, if a uranium container fell off a ship like the Rena, there doesn't seem to be any contingency plans there either.
So in your view, the fact that uranium is going through New Zealand ports, does that mean we're still nuclear free?
Essentially, I think it does. Obviously, there's boundaries. I mean, we use nuclear medicine in New Zealand, so there are radioactive elements to nuclear medicine.
That's true. That's true. We've got a cat. We zapped the cat one time. We took him down to the vet and they zapped him with radioactive stuff.
Did they? Right.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, nuclear medicine does use radioactive materials. So what we don't have in New Zealand is we don't have nuclear power, and we don't have nuclear warships or nuclear weapons. And so the fact that uranium passes through the ports, I don't think it means the end of nuclear-free New Zealand, but, I mean, our preference is that it doesn't. So, we've argued against putting uranium through New Zealand ports, and now, I guess, I don't think we realised how weak the system of controls around a lot of things were, actually, including the oil spills, but also uranium.
So this raises questions, I mean, about whether or not it's only at ports and over the ocean, but I mean, is some of the stuff on our roads or these dangerous goods that we don't seem to be planning for?
I don't think there's uranium on our roads, but I think obviously there's plenty of dangerous goods on the roads. But the Rena thing, to me, it's one of the things that's become clear is that we weren't really prepared for it.
It's preparedness.
So, we're guardians of the country, we're a coastal nation. Clearly, I think we need to have better preparations. And there was actually a report done, this Thomson-Clark report done within the last 12 months that said Maritime New Zealand needed to buy new equipment and they needed to upskill themselves. So there have already been others who have raised these issues.
Okay. Changes announced by the government yesterday to Kiwisaver, auto-enrolment, making it compulsory for everyone. Good move, do you think?
Yeah, I do actually. It's compulsory to enrol, but it's not compulsory to stay in. It's called soft compulsion. So everyone gets automatically enrolled, but you can opt out if you want within a certain time period. So the upside of it is that it means that probably will get more people enrolled in Kiwisaver because more people will stay in because a lot of people just didn't get around to enrolling if they're in their current employment. If they kind of stayed in the same employment as when the scheme came in. But it also gives people a choice. If they want to get out, they can. So I think it's a fair compromise between trying to increase savings but also give people choices.
And anything else you would do to strengthen Kiwisaver?
Well, I mean, the level of contributions is relatively low in New Zealand compared to other countries. So, I mean, in Australia it's much, much higher, 9% going to 12% contributions from employers. Having higher contributions I think will come in over time, but it does take time to get there. In Australia it was done as part of a centralised wage negotiation when they did it originally. So basically, workers agreed to not have a increase in the award payment across the whole country, and in return, that money was put into a super fund.
Right. Okay. All right. Well. Okay. That's Kiwisaver, and finally, what do you make of there's just some news coming out this morning about the police. There's two things. First of all, of course, the Police Association is calling for guns on all hips. And the other thing is police looking to recover costs from events that they attend and protect and sort out, which sounds like a protection racket to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, on the first issue, we don't support putting guns on because the hips of every cop. It only results in an escalation. So I don't think that makes police safer or anyone else safer. Police already have access to guns, but they just don't carry them on their hips. On the second issue, it's an interesting one, isn't it? On the one hand, if the World Cup was paying the police, would that create a very odd relationship between the World Cup and the police, because the police are meant to work for all of us, for the state. On the other hand, it is very expensive. So essentially, these private events get a subsidy from the taxpayer because the police end up providing security.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Really, it's a tightrope walk.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting question. I don't know the answer. I need to have a think about it more.
Yeah, it's only just presented itself. But hey, thanks for your thoughts. Thanks, Russell. Cheers.
Okay, cheers there, mate.
Russell Norman, co-leader of the Greens.